Welcome to week 2 of Life, Leadership, and Business. Last week we began talking about how do we take our steps forward, and that the most important thing is to learn and to grow and to move forward, and that the greatest investment that we can make is the investment in ourselves and into our future. So last week I gave you a little homework and just said, hey, what is the one thing you need to start, or what's the one thing that you need to stop doing in order to move forward? So I want to ask you, go ahead and put that in the chat. We'll come back to that in just a little while. What is something that you either need to start or stop doing in order to reach those future goals? So tonight I told you we're going to ask some very difficult questions. Hard questions that leaders have to be able to ask and reflect upon for themselves. Questions that if we don't answer these questions, there's going to be something missing from our future. And part of leadership is just doing hard things. Part of growing in wisdom is being able to reflect. So I was talking to a client earlier this week, and we're just talking about knowledge is the ability to gain information. But we're not just about gaining information. We want to take that information, that knowledge, and begin to apply it. And when we begin to apply the things that we have learned and reflect upon them, that's when we actually begin to have some wisdom in our life. So wisdom is when we take the knowledge that we have gained, begin to apply it to our lives, and then be able to reflect upon it, that next time we are better and better. So here is the question for tonight. And I told you to make sure you have some paper. Here's what I want you to do. Take out your piece of paper and write this right across the top. You ready? Here it is. What do you want? Write it big, write it bold, write it right there across the top of your paper. What do you want? What do you want for your future? What do you want for a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now? Dream big. What's something that you want for your life, your leadership, your business? Maybe it's for your family, maybe it's for your finances. What do you want? So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you a little time. Here's your piece of paper. Write it down. Write down 1, 2, 3 things. I'm gonna give you 1 minute to work through this and begin to write down some answers. Ten seconds. All right. Well, hopefully you're able to write down a few things that you want for your future. It's important to be able to write it down. It's one thing to have it up in your head and it's kind of always floating around, it's always changing, but to actually write something on paper begins to change how you think. It begins to change how you actually look at these future goals and dreams that you have. So you have your piece of paper, and the what question reveals some important stuff to us. It reveals our desire for our life. It reveals, what do we want? What is the desire that we have for our life and for our future? It reveals something about us. Maybe we haven't even ever said it out loud, but when you start writing it out, it actually reveals what you want for your future. Not only does it reveal the desires that you have, but it reveals the direction that your life needs to go. What direction are you to go? You go to east, west, you go north, south? Where do you want to go in your life? And when you decide what you want, it'll put you on a course to begin to reach and go towards that goal. But you have to start going the right direction. And then it reveals our destination. It reveals where we want to go. It reveals what we want for our future and for our family, for our business. And it tells us, how do we know when we will reach it? How do we know when we've arrived? What is that going to look like? Now, we know that life is never a straight line. It's never a straight course. We can't just predict and go, okay, that's where I want to go. I'm just going to make 5 steps and it's going to be easy to get there. No, it's going to be all kinds of left turns and right turns, and it's going to be a right cross and an uppercut. That's just how life is. But you got to start off with, where do you want to go? What do you want for your life? So as you begin to think about this, you have your piece of paper right there in front of you. Okay, hopefully you have your piece of paper. Here's what I want you to hold up your piece of paper. Hold it up big, proud. Put it out there in front of you. Okay, if you have it on a spiral or something like that, pull that piece of paper out. Hold it up big. Hold it up 2 hands. Put it way out in front of you. Okay, then I want you to hold it 2 hands up here like this. Everybody hold it up high. Hold it up big. And then I just want you to rip it in half. And I know what you're thinking, going, what in the world, Nick? Why would we just rip it in half? Well, here's what I want you to just rip it in half again. It doesn't matter. And so, as The Rock would say, it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you think. That's the first question, is what do you want? But it's not the hardest, and it may not be the most important. See, we actually have to ask a harder question for our life. We have to ask something that's a little bit difficult. So you have your piece of paper, you ripped it in half. You know this list of what do you want. But let me ask you this question. How much would you give me for this backpack? It's a used Under Armour backpack. I've had it for 3 or 4 years. It's well worn. Would you give me $10 for it? Would you give me $20 for it? $50 for it? Would you give me $100 for it? You're going, okay, well, slow down, Nick. It's not worth $100. I actually see some of you shaking your hands going, no, there's no way it's worth $100. Well, see, the problem is, we look at the price of the backpack rather than what's inside the backpack. And it's just full of $100 bills. Yeah, and keep counting and keep counting and keep counting $100 bills. You see, the problem is we look at the price of something rather than the value of something. And for us leaders, we have to think differently. We have to begin looking at not just what is the price, but what is the value. Paul's over here going, hey, I wonder if he's going to set those dollar bills down. I wonder if he's going to take what he's going to do with those at the end of the night. We have to look at the value, not just the price. Everything has a price tag, but not everything is of equal value. And it has to be what is most valuable to you. So we have to think about it differently. And so here is your next question. Okay, go ahead and get you another piece of paper out. I told you you're going to need a couple of sheets of paper tonight. So I warned you to be ready. I want you to go ahead and write across the top again, what do you want? But then I want you to ask this, what is it worth to you? Those 2, 3, 4 things that you wrote for things that you want for your future, what is it worth to you? What's the value to you? This is too little for your future. This is too little for your hopes and dreams and goals that you have for your life, for your business, for your family. So what's it worth to you? We have to change our thinking. We have to change from just what does it cost me in the moment to what does it actually look like in the future? And when we begin asking this question, what is it worth to you? You begin revealing some different things. You have to ask the question, what will it cost? Everything comes at a cost. Everything comes at a cost. But not only what does it cost, but what will you gain? Now look at this for a second. What will it cost versus what will you gain? See, this may not have been worth $20, $30, $50, but what would you have gained? We need to look at our growth journey as what we are gaining, not what it's costing us. Now, there's always a cost analysis. Your business leaders, your business owners, you understand ROI. You understand that everything has a return on your investment. But is there anything greater than investing in yourself? There's going to be a cost, but what will you gain? And is it worth it to you? Is it worth it to you to be able to reach those goals and dreams? Look at it again. I want you to look down at your paper. Look down at it. You said, what do you want? What did you write down? What would you pay to ensure that you could get there? What would you sacrifice? What would you give? How much time would you be willing to invest if you knew you could reach those goals and dreams? It's got to look different. So let me tell you how this has played out for me. My wife and I had this long conversation last night, just talking about what do we want for our future? What are these goals and dreams that we have? And I told her that as I've been on this growth journey over the last 2 or 3 years, my desires have changed. The things that I thought were my future hopes and goals and dreams, and if I could ever get to this point, this is what I would buy. If I could ever get to this point, this is what we would go do. Those no longer matter. Because I've changed my mind. I've changed my way of thinking. And what I realized is all those old ways were thinking that the backpack at $30 was too expensive. I was thinking about what are liabilities, and I was always thinking about how can I buy a liability, something that will actually decrease in value, just for an experience, a moment that is fleeting. And now I begin thinking of how do I invest my time, my energy, my finances to not just have a success for today or a success for this week or this year, but how do I set my children up for success? How do I set my children's children up for financial success? See, that's one of my goals. What do I want? I want to be able to leave an inheritance to my children's children. So the way I think has to be different. We were actually sitting watching home run derby last night for the Major League Baseball All-Star game. We're sitting there, we're watching this, and I told my wife, Leslie, who's just absolutely amazing. She's so smart. She's so much wiser than I am. I said, if I was sitting here alone, I don't think I would watch this. She goes, wow, what would you be doing? I said, at this point in my life, I said, this is not the man you married. I know this is not the man you married. And she goes, oh no, what are you about to say? I said, I think I would be better off going and watching a webinar, going and spending time reading a book, going and doing something that actually invests in myself, rather than wasting time watching kids play baseball. Now, I'm not taking away from you watching any type of sports, or college football season is going to be here and I'm going to watch college football. But it really made me begin to evaluate, what am I willing to pay for? What sacrifice am I willing to make? If I know these, what do I want? And you have it right there in front of you. You say, I want this. How much would you pay for it? What does it look like? See, I started thinking about things that I wanted 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago in my life. And man, if I ever got to where I am today, this is how I would spend my money. This is what we would go do. But now I have to think differently, because I have bigger goals, bigger dreams, bigger hopes. And they're not just hopes, because hope has no strategy to it. Hope is not a plan. It's just grasping at the wind. But I have a strategy and I have a plan, and I'm willing to invest anything I can in order to help me get there. So one of the things I realized, I need to get more coaching for myself. I have a meeting on Thursday afternoon to meet with a new mentor who's going to teach me new things, who's going to train me and help me even develop the way I think even differently. Here's the scary thing. I showed my wife the price of it, and she goes, oh, are you sure about that? I said, absolutely. I teach this all the time. I believe this. I know this is true, that there is no greater investment than you can make than in yourself. Because when I invest in myself, I am better at investing in others. When I invest in myself, I make everyone around me better. And that's the goal, because better is always better. So the better I get, the better my team gets. The better I get, the more I have the capacity to invest in more leaders, more business owners, who they're in turn invest in their teams. My influence grows, the impact grows, not just so that people know me, but that organizations are changed, families are changed, lives are changed. The way you think and see life and see your business is different. I was thinking about this this last Sunday and thinking about this movie, Maverick, Top Gun. See, Maverick got recruited to go back to Top Gun to be a teacher, not to be a pilot. But he's going, no, that's not who I am. I'm not a teacher, I'm a pilot. There became a time that he was trying to teach, and they couldn't reach the goal. They couldn't reach it in time until Maverick got back in the plane and showed him that it was possible. See, part of the way we change our thinking is to see things are possible and to have an example in our life that shows you can do this. And when you see other people do it, you begin to believe it. You begin to invest differently and think differently. And that's what I want you to know. There are people just like you who have taken their next step of growth, and it's changed their life. It's changed their family. It's changed their business. All because they're willing to invest in themselves and continue to take steps forward. So what's it worth to you? Those things that are in front of you, what are they worth? How much time? How much energy? How much effort? How much sacrifice will you give in order to actually accomplish the things that are ahead of you? And that really is the hard question. You see, there's a lot of people who want to be Major League All-Stars. There's a lot of young kids in high school football that want to win a state championship or play college football. But not everyone's willing to do what it takes to actually achieve it. Will you do what it takes to achieve it? Will you do what it takes to actually accomplish your goals and your dreams? I have this friend, and he says this statement all the time. He says, don't let money slow you down. Now, that's easy for you to say, bud. You have money. I don't, right? I mean, sure, it's easy for you to say, don't let money slow you down. And it was during the preparation of this talk with you tonight that I finally understood what it meant. It's not about the money. It's about the value. It's about the value of what would you do if you knew there was this opportunity that was beyond belief. It's a different mindset. He has money, he makes money, but he understands that there's something beyond the price. It's the value. And you are valuable, and you are worth it, and you are worth investing in, and you are worth sacrificing the time that you would learn and get better every single day of your life. But will you do it? And that's the challenge in front of every single one of us. So here's the second half of that. What will it cost if you do nothing? What will it cost if you do nothing? Do you want to be where you are right now in 5 years? Do you want your finances? Do you want your business? Do you want there to be no change at all? Because if you don't change, you are further and further behind every day. Every day you're further and further behind if you don't change and get better. This is scary to me. This is like a deep fear within me that if I don't change it, and if I don't grow, and if I'm not willing to invest and nothing changes, what does that mean for my family? What does it mean for my future? What does it mean for the deep things that I believe that God's placed upon my heart? I don't want to be that person that I was a year ago or 5 years ago. I want to be something different. When I think about this, I think about a friend of mine who's sitting right over here, who worked with me years ago. We went through some battles together, actually not together, against each other. And it was ugly. I don't want to be that person who I was back then. He's not that person that he was then. Paul has developed himself and grown and invested in himself. He has committed to J. Crew Entertainment, and their company does a wonderful job. He leads his girls differently because of some battles that we went through. And we're both better men because of it. We both have the mindset, I will never be that man again. But it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take hard work. And for all the things that you wrote on, this is what I want, it's going to cost you. And are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to pay the price to get there? So I'm going to give you a minute, and I just want you to write down a few notes. So it's not just about taking the knowledge. It's not just about gaining some information, but it's the wisdom of how do I apply the things that I have now learned. I want you to take a minute. I'm going to give you a minute. Write down a few things. What does this week look like? Based on our conversation that we've just had, what is your action item this week? What's your next step? So I'm just going to give you a minute. All right. So listen, I know this is not just a 1-minute answer, but I wanted you to put something on paper to get started. Do you know what the number one indicator of success is? The number one indicator. No one can argue with this. No one can dispute this. I don't care who they are. No one can argue with this point. The number one indicator of success. There is zero success without this. The number one indicator of success is you have to get started. And I wanted you to get started by writing something down, by saying this is a step in that direction. Get started. There is no success without getting started. Keep making steps forward a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, every day, investing in yourself, getting yourself better, making yourself better, learning and growing in order that your influence is better, that your company is better, your organization is better, and everyone in your life is better because they have you in their life. So next week, here's going to be our discussion. Next week, we're going to discuss the 3 C's of success.